great when he fought Spence. He would never beat Danny the night we fought Ray Catch, before he started suffering from anxiety and depression. Because that came through the COVID. That had a lot to do with it too. You know, not making excuses for the Spence fight, but I should have spoke up, but I didn't. Thought he would get over the hump, but he never did. But afterwards, we got over it. So when Danny fought Ray Catch that night, Spence wanted to beat Danny. Remember, he had the car accident that we took 6 months so he recover. So that night, he will never beat Danny. But now we back. Now we looking at the future. The future is Lara, Thurman, Chalo. If he vacate, we going for one of them buckles. We here to win. We here to be champions at 154. We should have been with Cotto, because we could have got that fight when Cotto was retiring. And I turned it down because Puerto Rico was in darkness. So I should have did it. Danny would have been the champion. And then we could have fought Peterson. We fought him at a catchweight. We could have been the IBF champion too. He could have been unified. IBF, WBC, WBA, Ring Magazine champion of the world. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking forward now. We passed all that. Now we're looking at a new era in Danny's life, a new chapter. It's at 154, we fight. Whoever won it, they can get it. Like Broner said, Mexicans can get it, Africans can get it, Puerto Ricans can get it. Anybody can get it.
What's going on? We got a lot to talk about in this hour show. We're going to be here for the next 50 minutes or so, going over several topics. I didn't get a chance to do a post-fight stream on Garcia versus Jose Benavidez. We did do a live fight commentary stream. We streamed during the main event, but Showtime took the video down. It happens. It happened to that video, my Mark Maxayo video. To be honest, it's one of those type of, briefly, I'll explain. Whenever you see my videos get taken down, it's because basically they let me do it. I'm grateful that they let me use, their highlights, but it's a give and take type of thing to where it's like, all right, cool. You'll let me do it. You'll let me keep my post-fight video. But since I show highlights in between rounds, they can't really keep it up. It depends. I can keep it up, but it's a long story. It's a business YouTube thing, copyright, just know that everything's cool. But anyway, normally after big fights, with big name fighters, I don't really consider this a big fight. I didn't consider it a big fight. I normally do a post-fight video, like a post-fight stream, where I would stream the post-fight press conference and give my thoughts. So it's no secret that if you've seen my post-fight video, I was a little untethered because frankly, I was pissed off at Jose Benavidez for the performance he put up. But then again, respectfully, my man is kind of disabled and handicapped. Now, I understand how the Puerto Ricans can feel. Now, T-Street, I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm about a hair away from identifying as Puerto Rican. And we can do that as 2022. So if you Puerto Ricans better get off my back, or before you know it, I'm going to be one of you. So basically what I'm saying is I had a lot of Puerto Ricans in my comments, talking all this shit. How come you can't give Danny Garcia his credit? He shined. He looked good. But at the same time, I cover boxing. You dig? Danny did look good. He looked great. Like, he looked phenomenal. In fact, I can't really think about a time where I ever seen Danny look that good of a boxer. I'm talking about not a pressure fighter, power puncher, a boxer. But at the end of the day, Jose Benavidez had one motherfucking leg. He has like a plate in his knee from when he got shot. And even in the predictions, I'm not the only one that was saying this shit, is that his body would be so easy to hit. Danny was hitting him with everything to the body. He couldn't miss. It was 150 plus body punches that landed, from my understanding from the punch stats. Let me see if I should have pulled that up before. But he couldn't miss because Jose Benavidez can't move. He got one leg. But my issue is this. It looked like he was kind of scared to engage, meaning Jose Benavidez, because he wasn't even throwing any punches. I got to go back and rewatch Garcia versus Matisse. I covered it. I remember I had like 40 fucking thousand views. This was years and years ago because I was one of the people that was saying that Danny could beat Lucas Matisse. And this was when I was on another channel though. But man, like shit used to be lit. I used to be a drunken fool. Boy, I'm talking about going viral every weekend. Those was the good old days. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, you know, Danny's good. But at 154, you even heard his father say it. Angel Garcia just said at the post-fight press con. In fact, this is what we're going to do because this is relevant. We're going to play the last 8 minutes of this post-fight press conference. You know why? Because if you didn't get a chance to see it, there's some relevant information in here. For example, how Danny Garcia only weighed in at 159 pounds coming into the fight, to where Jose Benavidez had posted a pic on his social media hours before they got in the ring at him weighing at 172 pounds. So he probably came into the ring at like 175 plus. You dig? But anyway, take your time out, like the video, subscribe. We're going to be here for the next 45, 50 minutes or so. We got multiple things to talk about. Also, I am so excited for my podcast that's going to be launching. I've never been excited for something in my life. I got the jitters, though, a little bit. But nonetheless, let's go listen to this press conference and wrap it up. All right, let's listen to it. And then we're going to talk about everything after. So, yeah, since you're here, it'd be great if the 47 of you that are here right now would just drop a like or dislike the video. That's your right. I can see the dislikes. I have this plug-in that I use.
Discuss your victory, that you would open up, you know, in front of everyone about your mental health struggles? And do you see yourself as someone who would be an advocate for those struggling with mental illness?
I was gonna say it, but I didn't know I was gonna break down. Like I just kept crying. I'm like, damn, I'm a little bitch. But that's what breaks people. Like when you don't talk about it. Because if you like, as being an athlete, people tell you to be strong, don't be weak. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I don't feel good. Train harder, run harder. So people look at you already like you're strong. So you just keep it to yourself. And like 20 something years plus of keeping it to myself, it just kind of like bursted. And I just felt like I was tired mentally. And I knew that I needed a rest from the boxing. I knew boxing was triggering it, to be honest. It wasn't nothing else, because I only felt like that when I was fighting. But now I know how to get around it. I know how to turn the switch off. I know how to talk to somebody. I know how to go for a run or just occupy my mind and get past whatever's making me feel that way. Just stay strong until I get past that. Yes, sir.
Antonio, AB Boxing News. Angel, seeing Danny's great performance tonight, what can you...
All right, this is where the important part stuff comes in. I didn't want to cut off my man mental health speech there. But yeah, anyway, this is the important stuff.
Use towards this fight to take it to later down the line, another fight.
He looked great tonight. He took shots. Benavidez never touched the body. I mean, he's not a skillful fighter, but he's a strong fighter, like Danny said. He couldn't hurt Danny. Danny with some good shots. But at the end of the day, what I seen on Danny was, we need to get a little bigger. That's it. Like a little more muscle. Because Danny got the power, but, you know, with his first night, 54, and he looked great to me. And if Danny would have been great when he fought Spence, he would never beat Danny the night we fought Ray Catch, before he started suffering from anxiety and depression. Because that came through the COVID. That had a lot to do with it, too. And, you know, not making excuses for the Spence fight, but I should have spoke up, but I didn't. Thought he would get over the hump, but he never did. But afterwards, we got over it. So when Danny fought Ray Catch that night, Spence wanted to beat Danny. Remember, he had the car accident that we took 6 months so he recover. So that night, he will never beat Danny. But now we back. Now we looking at the future. The future is Lara, Thurman, Chalo. If he vacate, we going for one of them buckles. We here to win. We here to be champions at 154. We should have been with Cotto, but we could have got that fight when Cotto was retiring. And I turned it down because Puerto Rico was in darkness. So I should have did it. Danny would have been the champion. And then we could have fought Peterson. We fought him at a catchweight. We could have been the IBF champion too. He could have been unified. IBF, WBC, WBA, Ring Magazine champion of the world. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking forward now. We passed all that. Now we're looking at a new era in Danny's life, a new chapter. It's at 154, we fight. Whoever won it, they can get it. Like Broner said, Mexicans can get it, Africans can get it, Puerto Ricans can get it. Anybody can get it.
My daughter wants to see something.
Hello, guys. Hi. So I just wanted to say how I felt when my dad was fighting. So I felt a little nervous, but I knew he was gonna win. So yeah.
I don't want to cut the kid off.
Bye-bye.
All right, perfect.
Dan,
But let's see what this next question is.
James Bell here, the Boxing Source. I wanted to talk about, your relationship with your father. You talk about, dealing with the anxiety. Kind of going to, going.
Okay, nope. So here's the thing. How come all of a sudden people see Eroslindy Lara as food? First Thurman wants him at a potential catch weight. This would be above 154 pounds, maybe 155 Canelo weight. Now, all of a sudden, Danny Garcia is calling him out. Now, if you don't know, for those who haven't been paying attention, Eroslindy Lara's last several years, his legs have been kind of gone. So therefore, he's more vulnerable, if you will. Jerry Swift Hurd was like 200 pounds. You just weight bullied him. Lara was trying to hold his fucking own, but he just couldn't keep Jared Hurd off of him. Now, Danny Garcia, if you've heard, he came into the ring at about 159 pounds or so. He looked it. He's a small 154 pounder. Now, can you really blame him for wanting a rematch with Keith Thurman? I can't really blame him for that. But would he try to say Thurman has to come up to 154? Would he go back down to 147? Or would we be cool with it? I would be cool with it in the middle, like 150, something like that. I'd be cool with that. But as far as Charlo, that's the fight that everyone wants. Me personally, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Love Danny Garcia to death. But Jermell Charlo would put a boot in Danny Garcia's ass. In fact, Jermell Charlo, in my personal opinion, beats everybody at 154 pounds. Just my personal opinion. I'm a huge Charlo guy. And there's still bad blood between me and Jamal Charlo. I'm hoping that the next time I see him, I'm going to go to an event sometime soon that maybe, we can probably finalize a delicate truce. It went real bad back in, what was that? The beginning of 2020. So everything's been kind of fucked up since then. But anyway, Danny Garcia, Tony Harrison is the fight to make. In fact, Tony Harrison had called out Danny Garcia. Let me see if I can find that clip for you. He was at the fight. And I think for 154, that's the way to go. If he can't get Charlo. Now, let's just go ahead and, talk about it. Charlo is tied up at 154. He's tied up. He's the undisputed champion. Ain't no way Danny Garcia is going to get him unless he's a mandatory. For example, when Charlo returns, he's supposed to be fighting Tim Tszyu. That's going to be in like January the 28th or something like that. Then whatever the hell is going on with Bakram Murtazaliev, IBF mandatory. Then you got Sebastian Fundora, who's the WBC mandatory right now, the interim champion. And then you got Israel Madrimov, who is the weakest of the champion. The weakest of the top guys. That he has the WBA world belt. It's the bullshit joint. But I think Danny Garcia can probably beat him. I don't think Danny Garcia can beat Tony Harrison. Danny Garcia may be able to outwill Erickson Lubin. I'm going to say Danny can beat him. I'm not confident Danny Garcia can beat Sebastian Fundora. Sebastian Fundora is just going to be too big in that ring. But I think Tony Harrison is the way to go. But if you're Danny Garcia coming off of a pay-per-view, coming off of being pay-per-view, having a resume that he has, it's understandable that he wants, to try to go after some big fights. And if he was to fight Lara and beat him, there is going to be some like he'll be able to say he beat Eroslindy Lara. Like I like that. There's going to be some appeal to that. I would want to see Danny Garcia versus Eroslindy Lara. I would want to see Keith Thurman versus Eroslindy Lara. But I don't think that Eroslindy Lara is the food that Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman, especially Jelly Belly Keith Thurman. But then again, Lara don't really go to the body. But overall boxing, I think that Eroslindy Lara would still beat Danny Garcia today because that's Danny Garcia's issue. He's always had issues with boxers fighters that can outbox him. Let's go look at some of the guys at 154 pounds. Do a little process of elimination here. You got Tony Harrison. He's number one. If Tony Harrison and Danny Garcia, it would be likely a final eliminator for the WBC. But Sebastian Fundora is the interim champion. If he fights Bakhram Murtazaliev, maybe he can jump the line and become the IBF mandatory, try to get Charlo that way after Tim Tszyu. You know, they can maybe do Charlo versus Danny Garcia on pay-per-view. You know they'll try that shit. Tim Tszyu is the WBO. As I said, him and Charlo was supposed to be fighting basically, you know, the end of January 2023, likely because PBC don't have the dates available. Who can Danny Garcia beat at 154? Him and Liam Smith would be a fun fight, but Liam Smith is also a big 154 pounder. Like, he can compete at 168. You know, but now politically, I don't think it can happen. You know, but we're just looking at guys that Danny could possibly beat. He can beat Liam Smith. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Charles Conwell, that ain't going to happen. Charles Conwell also got to, you know, who's he with? He's with the Bella and who else? Teal's manager, right? Maybe Danny Garcia, Carlos Ocampo, but Carlos Ocampo been looking good. Remember, former Errol Spence mandatory. But at 154, he's been looking really, really good. And yeah, Erickson Lubin's not going to be an easy night for Danny Garcia. So remember, Danny Garcia and his team know this. You know, they know the same thing we're doing. I'm sure him, his father, and, you know, their team probably already looked at these fighters to be like, you know what? Erickson Lubin, yeah, we could probably beat him, but it wouldn't be no walk in the park. Liam Smith, that'll probably be a nice win under our belt. We could probably win that fight, likely would, but politically, you know, he's over in the UK, you know, fighting between Sky Sports Boxer and DAZN, Eddie Hearn, before Jesse Vargas put a boot in his ass. You know, Tim Tszyu, they already know Tim Tszyu is right now getting the Charlo fight. You know, and, you know, it's going to be about a fight that also they can make. Danny Garcia versus Sergio Garcia. Sergio Garcia was talking about retirement, but that's a step back from, in my opinion, fighting Sergio Garcia. I don't think that's going to work. I think that's going to be a step back, you know, for Danny Garcia. And Showtime, you know, if you notice, Showtime usually does a progression with their fighters. So if he fought Jose Benavidez, that was like the stepping stone to see, or the tester to see how he would look in the division. So I would expect likely that Danny Garcia's next fight is going to be somebody on a higher level than a Jose Benavidez. You know, I don't think Sergio Garcia. I don't think it's going to be him. It's going to be and also Danny Garcia commands a lot of money, so they can't just put him in there against anyone, especially when the ratings of Danny Garcia, which just came out via Boxing Scene, peaked at about 450,000. You know, now understand, a lot of people in this day and age, you know, they watch through the apps, like, for example, Showtime Anytime. I'm not really a fan of Showtime Anytime because you can't rewind, but those readings go off of Nielsen and basically who's watching through their dish or cable or, you know, satellite provider. But I would expect that, you know, a lot more people in this day and age are watching through streams, like, you know, like the Showtime app. Who else? Brian Castaño, that would be a great fight. I would entertain that. But you know how fighters like to do. You know, it's rare that you see fighters, especially PBC fighters, or really in any promotional company, but definitely with PBC fighters. You don't see them go from fighting one big fight and then go directly into another one, unless you're fucking like a B-side like Mario Barrios or something like that. You know, it's rare, and I was even surprised to see that happen. You know, so it's hard for me to see Brian Castaño being next for Danny Garcia, or at least without Brian Castaño getting a win under his belt first before they start building that up. But if I was to pick somebody for Danny Garcia, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, and I'm talking about fights that can be made, like politically. Carlos Adames. Wait, he's at 160 now, right? Yeah, but he's still holding on to this ranking at 154 for a reason. He's got to notify the IBF, so he's there for a reason. Fucking Austin Trout still kicking about out there, still flapping about. Ill. It's no disrespect to Austin, no doubt Trout, but like, bro, it's fucking 2022, damn near 2023, and he's ranked number 5 by the IBF. What has he been doing? He just fought in Germany like a few weeks ago. What are you, 36 years old? They ain't even old in boxing. 35-5-1 with 18 kids. Why am I entertaining this? Y'all, would you accept Danny Garcia versus Austin Trout? Or is that degenerate, low down, boxing, scumbag shit? What am I doing? I don't want to see that. I will Nah, what am I doing? No. Let me get away from there. But my bet is this Bakhram Murtazaliev guy has been being screwed big time by the IBF, like big time. He's been fighting on Charlo dark matches, undercards, not even televised, for him to be an eventual opponent for Charlo. But I knew he was never going to get Charlo because they wasn't even putting him on the undercard. They were putting him on like untelevised dark matches and shit. So what if they do Danny Garcia and they throw a whole bunch of money at Murtazaliev to try to buy that mandatory spot for Danny Garcia? You kind of follow me where I'm going? PBC would do that shit though. They would do it. That's why they would do Danny Garcia versus Austin Trout. They will pull out some shit. Like, for example, when they pulled out just something off the top of my head, like where the fuck they pull that from type of fight. Yo, Dennis Ugas versus Mike Dallas Jr. Mike Dallas. Like and that was just a couple of fights ago for him. Like they'll do some shit like that. Like how they did Lara versus Yuri Foreman. Like they will pull, they just did Lara versus Michael Sullivan. So they will pull some shit. They will pull some bullshit out. So don't be surprised if we see Danny Garcia versus Austin Trout. Don't be surprised, bro. But let's not talk that into the air. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Danny Garcia versus Murtazaliev, and the winner will be the mandatory for Jermell Charlo. I won't be surprised because they'll be the next mandatory after Tim Tszyu. So which means, let's say, for example, we see Danny Garcia versus Murtazaliev maybe this December, or maybe sometime in January, or a couple of weeks before or after Jermell Charlo versus Tim Tszyu. And then sometime in the summer, maybe around this time next year, we can see Danny Garcia versus Charlo. But for some reason, I don't know if Danny Garcia wants any pieces of Tony Harrison because, they've been kind of throwing it out there, and even Showtime is pushing it. Let me see if I can find the interview for you. Showtime is pushing it because they gave him an interview, meaning Tony Harrison, on the broadcast. They probably told him to show up. Let me see if I can find the interview for you. I'm gonna have to look it up on Twitter. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take your time out. Like the video, subscribe. My chat fucked up. Oh no, my chat's working today. That's what's up. In the meantime, while I'm looking up this clip, I need some brown rice recipes. I'm on my weight loss journey. I got some more snack. The lime green, I think it's lime green apple powder shit, where it's 2 scoops and 12 ounces of water. So I was pretty jacked earlier, like energetic, like running around. Did 3 miles on the treadmill. And let me tell you something, my shins, they're killing me. I think I need like some better support in my shoes. I did stretching and yoga and all that shit. Yes, T Street does dabble in some downward dog. I ain't too hood to do some yoga. Here we are. Let's listen to this, what Tony Harrison's had to say during the broadcast.
I'm here with the former light middleweight champion, Tony Harrison. Tony, You would like to fight perhaps Danny Garcia next. What's your assessment of how he's doing so far?
I mean, I think he's doing good, but it's right now we're seeing two 147-pounders come up to my division and fight each other. Right now, Danny Garcia got his feet in the pool, on the edge of the pool. I need him to come to
3 miles.
I mean, hopefully, man, I'm only here to bring him in the deep end and show him what Detroit guys do.
And why do you think that you should be the next opponent?
I mean, he can. I mean, if we talking about somebody that generate money to the sport, it's Danny Garcia. But who you gonna jump in front of? Who we gonna fight?
Come on, spit it out.
Best next thing is it gotta be him.
And what do you look for to happen here as the fight moves on into the later rounds?
I pray to God Danny win. I love Danny. I pray to God he win, and I pray to God we dance next.
I'm here with the.
So yeah, you know, Showtime gave him the time, and he's right. There's two 147-pounders up in there. You know, so to go back to what I was saying earlier in the video before we started, you know, Danny looked good. You know, he looked good. But at the end of the day, he fought a guy with a plate in his leg, you know, with one leg that does no movement. So the body was easy to hit. How did Danny Garcia win the fight? Body punching. Clean, accurate punching from a stationary target. It's no disrespect to Danny. He looked good. But he was in there against someone who really wasn't in there fighting. I was really disappointed in Jose Benavidez because I used to be really, really high on him. And to see just the way he fought in there, it was like, damn, bro. Like, are you really like washed up? Do you not give a fuck? Are you here for the check? Or is it like when you one of them fighters like where your leg like is done, like you're done? So as I said, you know, I would want to see Danny Garcia versus Tony Harrison next, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to go after that IBF spot. And if not Tony Harrison, then fuck it. I'll entertain him versus Lara and watch Danny Garcia get outboxed. I like Danny Garcia, but at the end of the day, I think Lara would still outbox him. And it will likely be for Lara's belt at 160 pounds, I'm guessing. Maybe at a catch rate of 155, or they're going to get him to come down, back down to 154. I mean, does Lara still have that WBA world belt? Like, what's going on with that? You know? And I didn't like all that taunting that Jose Benavidez was doing. And what was up with that drunk judge? Like, that judge was a drunk. Well, that's that judge's name. Let's listen to this crap.
Ringside, Waleska Roldan scores about 114.
That drunkard judge.
Decision, here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Waleska Roldan scores about 114 to 114, even a draw. Overruled by judges Glenn Feldman, who scores about 116 to 112, and Anthony Paolino scoring the action 117 to 111 in favor of the winner, Danny Swift Garcia.
Danny Swift Garcia victorious.
Drunk ass judge. Let's go look at that judge's card. See what he was thinking. That was a female, right? What were you thinking? Let me look at these rounds here. Let's go full screen. See if we can get a little. What was you thinking? Let me go see. So this judge. This judge gave rounds 1, 2, 4, 8, 9, and 11. This judge was drunk. Like, how? Let me see if I can look up this judge to see if she got the Nancy Pelosi face. You know how like certain people you can look at and just be like, yo, you can tell you a heavy ass drinker. You know that look? Like, what's that comedian name? The white dude. Always sweating. Got the liquor glass. I forgot his name. Let me see if it's one of those judges. What you look like, Waleska? Is this you? Oh no, she don't look like a drunkard. She looked cool. You think she was probably on the sauce that night, though? It's a lot of bars around the Barclays Center. T Street knows. You think she crooked? She's on the take, but it's all Al Heyman event. Who paid her? You think maybe Team Benavidez? No, let me shut up. I don't want to get canceled. Let me shut up.